Hello and welcome to Atlas's Behemoth Guide. Well, not Behemoth Guide, but Kinnara Guide or build. Yeah, we'll go with build. So this video is going to start a bit different. We're going to start in server 666. So this was my home kingdom where I first started with 666. So we're going to go through and just check out a few behemoths here so we can show the proof of the pudding. So 61k to 46k for Chill Guy there. Zuko, the R5, is down in 7th, so you can kind of see the damage here. Don't think I participated in the Hydra. Right here. Atlas, Wawa, so 15k more damage. For that Dire Bear, let's go here. Necromancer, Atlas, over Wawa, 100k on this one. So let's go here. Wawa, nice job. I wasn't in that Dire Bear. Let's see, was I over here? Atlas over Wawa, 331k to 169. Zin, okay, now Kiyomi, which I've talked about Kiyomi and Wawa in my other videos, right? Kiyomi right there, 156. So let's go over here. Let's look at Magma. You know, Atlas right there, 614 to 350, right? Let's check out a few more here. A few more behemoths. Okay, Atlas, another 375 to 196. The proof is in the pudding. Atlas right there, 514,000 damage to second place is 218. All right, let's go Dragon. Atlas, 330,000 versus 202. All right. So the proof is really in the pudding there, showing you that for damage for behemoths. So for those that don't know, I'm currently 85 million power in server 664. Same amount of merits. We're waiting until the gate to open up here before they will fight me again. So that's what is happening. So for today's docket, we're talking about the Flying Dagger Kinnara. Yeah. Emojis, sorry. So introduction. So right now I'm at 15,000 PvP kills with Kinnara. Fully start up now. In Season 2, in Season 1 you only got the 4 stars. In Season 2 we unlocked 2 more stars. Fully awakened Kinnara build. So this is primarily going to be about behemoths. So this is my behemoth killer Kinnara. Tried and true. That's what we're going to call this one. Tried and true, as you saw with all of the damage numbers at the beginning. So starting off with Rattlesnake Strike, the rage ability. Now, mind you, marksman, medium range, okay? Not long range, medium range. Deals damage to the target legion and inflicts enfeeble damage dealt. So damage dealt minus 15% for 5 seconds. So damage factor 14. So 1,400. A decent damage factor there. The second provocation. So while in the field, Legion deals 20% more normal attack damage and 10% less hero skill damage taken. So a reduction taken is 10%. Right here, Hunter's Pace, so marksman physical attack bonus, 30%, fantastic. And then the fourth skill here is physical counterattack damage dealt bonus, 30%, and march speed reduction, 20%. All right, now the Jawbreaker, the make it or break it of Kinnara. When Kinnara's Legion launches a normal attack, they have a 20% chance to inflict defensive break on the target Legion, reducing their defense by 20% for 3 seconds. Oh yeah, let's do this. This is what I used. Kinnara is who I used in Season 1 for taking top of the charts, getting #1 on all those behemoths. This is tried and true Kinnara. Moving into the talents here. So right here is the talent tree build that I was using for most of those behemoths. Now, prior to up until Dire Bear, yeah, yeah. So after Necro, I respect. Okay, so before I was running the March speed, now I was dealing so much damage, I was gaining aggro. So the extra 10% March speed is what I was taking. So just going over the skill tree here quickly, we take the core of our first three as normal, and then we're moving into the marksman tree. So first off, obviously we're taking that damage. Fantastic. We're taking 5 points here for more normal attack damage when launching ranged attacks. And then we're taking 1 point here because you'll notice it's 3% march speed. Here it's 2%. Here it's 2%. So always to the left-hand tree here. This node here, if it's march speed, it's always going to be a percentage higher. Good bang for our buck for an extra point. And then I've got with intimidation, dealing an extra 4% hero skill damage. Moving into Bullseye. When your Marksman Legion consists entirely of marksman units, they gain 5 stacks of attack increase every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, we're gaining an attack buff. Each stack increases the attack by 1%. So that's 5% additional attack. Each normal attack they launch removes 1 stack. So every 10 seconds, you're getting a 5% attack buff that will slowly go down to 0 till you get it replaced. Now, on the other hand, it's when your Marksman Legion casts a rage skill, there is a 50% chance that the next rage skill will deal 8% more damage. So that's a 1 in 2 that you're going to do more damage on your rage skill. You could go with shower blows as well, but tried and true, this is what I've been using as the Bullseye. Next up, we're going into gaining just a little bit more HP. Like I said, I've been taking a ton of aggro. So when I take aggro, having a little bit of extra HP goes a long way into helping there. And then we've gone up here into Delight, increasing rage accumulation speed by 15% when your Legion count is over 50%. So typically through an entire Behemoth run, you want to be over that 50% threshold. You should be grabbing the stones, you should be healing up. So we're gaining an extra 15% rage accumulation speed. Awesome. So that means we're pumping out more damage with the rage skill. Next up, reduces your Legion's defense by 1.5%, but increases their damage dealt by 3%. So we're losing defense, we're not tanking. If your tank's doing his job properly, you shouldn't be taking damage, and we have the health already to compensate for this. But we're dealing an extra 3% damage. Massive. Next up, I've gone for Burst Shot. When your Marksman Legion launches a normal attack, they deal additional damage with 150. This can be triggered once every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, we just do an extra 150 damage there. Versus Pursuit. When your Legion consists entirely of marksman units, they inflict fragility when casting rage skills, increasing normal attack damage taken by 10% for 5 seconds. So you could also get Pursuit, but the one that I've gone with is Burst Shot, just to get that guaranteed extra damage on the behemoths every 10 seconds. So next I've gone up and gone with overall attack. We get the extra damage. Like I said at the beginning of looking at the talent tree, I was running this march speed so I could get away. Okay. That's what I was doing, was running away. But after, when you go towards like magma, dragon, you can just stand and basically attack. You don't need that march speed as much, like you're not pulling the aggro. Then I've spec'd into rivalry just to gain the extra damage. And now we're not going for head held high with the extra rage accumulation speed. We are just going more damage dealt. So we're just pumping damage on damage, and then obviously with the PvP tree, Army of Valor, we're pumping more damage. As you can see, damage on damage on damage is what we're really going for. We've got the 6% march speed there with an extra 3% there, so we've got 9% march speed, so we're slow. we're extremely slow March, and I was running Kinnara with Hosk, who doesn't have March speed in his kit either, so we're extremely slow. That's why I was taking that extra 10% for a while there. I mean, when you're dealing with Hydra, when you're dealing with Frost Giant, a little extra move speed does go a long way, so you can get the overall speed here. It just helps you get into position, start attacking sooner. So this actually can really help. Versus something like the control tree, I mean, you're not interrupting rage skill cycles. You know, when casting rage skills, a debuff effect is dispelled. Like, you don't need the control tree. There's no point in this part of the control tree, right? You know, counterattacks, you shouldn't really be counterattacking. You don't want to take damage at all, right? We're sacrificing our defense here. We've got a little extra HP here, but this is counterattack. Like when casting rage skills inflict a slow on the target, reducing their march speed. Like, we don't need this. Control tree, absolutely not. So this is what we're taking with Kinnara primary, dealing that damage. Okay, this is the tree. So yeah, this is what I was using. I use this a little bit in the field, but now that I'm using Hosk primary in the field, this is my Behemoth killer. So this is what I used in Season 1 and part of Season 2 for going out and slaughtering those Behemoths. So next up, we're going to be moving into the pairings. Who do we pair Kinnara with? Well, as you saw in my Hosk video, I've been pairing Hosk and Kinnara. So I was using Kinnara primary, Hosk secondary for Behemoth killing in Season 1. That's really what I was doing there. Now, you can also flip that around if you're using the precision tree like we went over in the other build. We can do Hosk primary, Kinnara secondary if you've moved into that control tree for using her in the open field. But I would rather Hosk it for my open field, Kinnara for Behemoth killing. So that's what I did there. Now, other really good pairings for Kinnara. Marksman. So, for Behemoth killing, Nico. Nico is also going to be fantastic there, and he can also be used in the open field. We've got this defensive break, which is going to come into effect when we're talking about pets. Okay, so when we go and talk about pets for Kinnara, keep in mind the defensive break that Nico has on his rage skill. You know, he's adding, he gives us the march speed, so, and then we get some extra physical attack and some extra normal attack. So that's really, Nico is also an awesome option if you want to run Kinnara Nico. So, yeah, you're going to run, I mean, you could run Nico primary, but they have basically the same trees, except for he has precision over control. So you could run Nico Kinnara, or you can run Kinnara Nico. Now, Kinnara's who you're going to want to awaken before you awaken Nico. Okay, so that's going to be your focus there. Kinnara, you can also pair Kinnara with Guanwen. Guanwen is a fantastic pairing there that you can get. Like if you've been watching all the other videos so far, Guanwen is my #1 pick. When you start off, you start off as the elves, and then you switch into one of the other two factions off of elves. So really, you'll have that Guanwen, you'll have that Guanwen awakened, and then you're going to pump out some serious damage. You're going to get that poison inflict. You know, you've got the marksman physical attack. You've got that march speed bonus of 10%. So, you know, damage dealt, 10% additional damage dealt bonus. And then you've got that rage skill factor, which, if we're looking at the talents, buffs it right here. We're buffing it there. We're buffing it there. So we've got that extra 5%. That extra 4%, so it's an extra 9% damage on top of this. So that triggers 3 times. We get that effect of that extra 9% on that 200, 200, and then 400. So really, running that Kinnara Guanwen is also going to be fantastic for Behemoths if you don't want to put anything into Nico or Hosk. Now, Craig, you're not going to be running Craig while doing Behemoths anyways, because he's more AoE. So we're not even going to worry about Craig there. I don't even think I would pair my Kinnara Craig together. Yeah, he's got that 20% march speed, hero skill damage dealt bonus he does have as well. He's got some attack bonus, defensive bonus. So, but, 600 damage factor, then 300. We're not running Greg with Kinnara. We're running her for Behemoth. We're running her Kinnara Nico, Kinnara Guanwin, you know. And then if you're running the open field, you could run your Kinnara with a Crag if you had a Crag, maxed out there. But I would rather Kinnara Nico or Kinnara Guanwin. It's going to be up there. Honorable mention will also be Mu. You could throw a Mu in there. I mean, it's not illegal. But I don't think it's going to be overall the best pairing that you can do there. Kinnara is more focused on, dealing that counterattack damage, stuff like that. But you do have that rage skill. But it does hit those multiple enemies again. So, Mu would be more of the open field kind of option. But I would stick with your Kinnara Nico, Kinnara Guanwin, or your Kinnara Hosk. So that's that. Now, moving into artifacts, there's obviously going to be the Rattle Spear. The Rattle Spear is made for Kinnara. It is her artifact. So this is going to be the number 1. You're going to want to get it to a level 5, clearly. When your Legion inflicts defensive break on an enemy Legion, your Legion gains defensive penetration, ignoring 10% of the enemy's defense for 7 seconds. So how do we get that defensive break? So we have the defensive break right here. Oh no, yeah, defensive break. Yeah, they have a 20% chance to inflict defensive break on auto attack. So you really need to get Kinnara awakened to see the full effects of the Rattle Spear, or you use Nico. Remember that defensive break on his rage skill there. So if you're using the Rattle, you're not getting the full aspect of it unless you're pairing Kinnara with Nico or you have her awakened. Now, of course, honorable mentions, we've got the Shadow Blades. Right, that's another one. If you're a low spender, you can get the Shadow Blades as your monthly rewards. So eventually, after 5, you can get that maxed. You've got the Heart of Kamasi. That's another legendary that you could use there. But really, it is the Rattle Spear is what you're going to be going for. Now, for epics, we've got the Steel Heart Avenger. That's going to be the number 1 epic that you'll probably pick there. Or we've got the Heart Piercer that you can also use with your Kinnara as more of an epic free-to-play kind of option there for what you're going to be running with your Kinnara. So those are really the kind of Season 1, Season 2 items there, artifacts that you'll be running with your Kinnara. Now, talking about war pets, we're actually going to go Tails, Codex, Creatures, Beasts. Okay. Number 1 pick, and what I've been running with my Kinnara is the Shadow Manticore. If you're running Kinnara with any other pairing but Nico, my recommendation is going to be the Shadow Manticore with dealing physical attack. I should point that out because I've been seeing a lot of people running some bad pets recently, not understanding the difference between physical attack and magical attack. So Kinnara deals physical attack, being an archer, and this is the pet that I am recommending that you're going to be using with your Kinnara. Now, if you have Kinnara awakened, okay, Kinnara awakened and you're running her with Nico as deputy, or reverse the two and Nico primary, Kinnara as deputy awakened, then the Snow Peak Rock is going to be a better pet and deal more damage. As you can see here, recommended heroes. But the caveat is here, Kinnara can only inflict the defensive break on the passive, and Nico only inflicts it on his, on the awakened, sorry, and Nico only inflicts the defensive break on his rage skill. So you have to have Kinnara awakened to be able to utilize the Snow Peak rock to its full potential. That's when you're going to be dealing all of the damage. So you're going to get the Legion physical attack. You're going to want this pet to be maxed out with luck and then 30% chance to deal damage to the target Legion when inflicting defensive break. So if you only have a 30% chance, that's less than a 1 in 3 chance on a rage skill of Nico's to be able to do damage. That's not good enough. So that's why you need the extra defensive break from Kinnara on her regular attacks, so per turn attack, to then get a chance to deal damage. So that's why that. So to recap, you're going to want the Shadow. And then if Kinnara is awakened, then you can use Kinnara Nico with the Snow Peak Rock. So yeah, there we are. There's Kinnara. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. You can get Kinnara from the wheel. So that is how I ended up awakening her, was pulling her on the wheel. So thanks guys. We'll check you out in the next video.